Let the record show that the regular Riverview City Council meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. on January 17th, 2023. Will the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Blanchett. Here. Councilmember Ganaga.
Here.
Councilmember Norton. Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Mayor Swift.
Here.
Councilmember Workman.
Here.
Tonight we have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Robbins and invocation by Councilwoman O'Neill. Will you please rise?
Who's here? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, as we begin our work this evening, let us remember that despite our personal differences, we, in the end, work for the good of all the citizens of Riverview, and that we, as their representatives, must complete the difficult task before us, for them as well as ourselves. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. And I forgot to announce that Councilman Norton is excused. He had a prior commitment tonight. Any announcements, Jeff?
Your Honor, there is no announcements.
Okay, I do have a few of them. On behalf of myself and council and staff, we would like to offer our condolences to our new city manager on the loss of his sister-in-law. So you're in our prayers, and wish you guys the best. I do have a list here provided to me by the Riverview Goodfellows for the winners of the pizza parties at the school. The Goodfellows, as part of their campaign for No Child Left Behind at Christmas, not only do they provide food and clothing to the children, they also do they collect the canned goods at the schools. And the Goodfellows, and to encourage involvement, always provide a class at each of the schools that did the most, or raised the most items. So top here, well, I'm familiar with Mrs. Culverhouse from Memorial. Her class always does the best. Her class alone did 716 canned goods for a total of 2821 from that school. There was from Forest Elementary, Miss Kissel's class did 590 items. At Huntington, Mrs. Polgar's class, they weren't given a number, and then at Seats, Miss Almont's class were the winners. So congratulations to them. We will be in contact with them, and those schools will enjoy, at least the classes will enjoy a nice pizza lunch. And also, I will be giving a status on, I've gotten a few calls and emails about the status of recycling. So under other business tonight, I'll address as much as that as I can. That's it for the announcements. 5-1, approve the minutes of the 1/3/23 regular Riverview City Council meeting and the condensed version for publication. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Robbins, supported by Councilwoman Blanchett. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
We have no public hearings tonight. Now is the time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Keep your comments to 5 minutes. There is no sharing of time and no rebuttals. And please be respectful. And I will add tonight, just so we can maintain our civility, anybody addressing the mayor and council, please address me. Don't turn to the crowd, address any individual in the crowd. If you have something to say, you need to say it to me and council. So thank you. Yes, sir.
Elmer Trombley, 17738 Brenton Street, Riverview. I'm here tonight to let the 4 council people who voted to sell marijuana in our city and not let the residents vote on it. So I put out a petition, and me and my friends, this petition is like this, and I have enough signatures to bring it to a ballot. But I'm not going to turn them in for a while yet because I'm going to get enough signatures to let these people know that is Robbins, O'Neill, Norton, and Rita know how they messed up or whatever they got for doing such a nasty thing. The word out is now, it's not Riverview anymore. It's Reeferville, Reeferview. You know, that's a damn shame.
Elmer.
Call this city Reeferview. How bad can it get? Our kids in this city deserve better walking to school than have them selling marijuana on the street. And that ain't going to happen, folks. And if anybody wants to sign a petition that hasn't, my name's Elmer Trombley, and my phone number is 734-552-5013. All you have to do is give me a call or leave me a message with your address, and I will be there to get it signed. That's 734-552-5013. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you.
In Riverview, not Reeferview.
Anybody else?
Bill Toll, 17861 Devonshire. Just a couple of questions, Mayor. I seen where there was, I believe, 9 applications for dispensaries. Did all 9 of those people complete the application with the required fees? Also, I'd like to know the location of each one of these that an application was submitted for, or when will that information be available? And I'll wait to the close of the meeting. One other comment, and this goes to Rita. Somehow she had the impression that myself and I think Elmer Trombley were harassing people at the line. That's totally false. I don't know where she got her information from. It was not accurate. An officer approached me when I walked up, because I'd been there the day before and talked with an individual. They said he wasn't going to have, these people didn't want to talk to me, and they didn't want to be harassed by me. I looked at the 2 individuals. I asked the one individual, have I harassed you? The guy says, no. I said, did you tell me you didn't want to speak with me? He says, no. So I looked at this other guy, walks up and says, well, you know, I don't want you talking to my people. I said, that's fine. If they don't want to talk to me, I don't have to talk to them. I said, did you ever tell me, other than right now, that you didn't want to talk with me? He said, no. The point is, an officer came up with me, predicated on an email that Rita put out suggesting that we were somehow harassing these people. And that's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Tim Duran, 19118 Wedgewood, Riverview. And I gave my home address. I noticed at the last couple of meetings, some people do not give their home address. They give addresses that are not their home, but business addresses in other cities. I wanted to know, I asked last meeting, Mayor Swift, what the mission of the ordinance or the committee was, and you were going to answer at the end of the meeting, but you didn't answer me. Could you please tell me what the mission was?
You should have reminded me then, but I will.
I can't speak out. I could get
But
arrested.
I will go over the mission at the under other business tonight.
Well, my questions have to do with the mission, so, but I also, all right, I'll give that to you, but,
Okay.
yeah, you know, I want to know, the members were selected for that by turning in applications. I had asked for an application for that committee and was never sent one. I was informed that City Hall was told not to send me an application by 2 council members. I know who those 2 council members are. I asked at the last meeting, so does anybody want to fess up at this time? I know who you are.
Well, again, we can address that.
I'm just
under-
asking. I didn't think anybody would answer. I found out in the day of the public hearing that that's what happened. I'm jumping around a little bit because I did file a FOIA on the question that former council member Toll asked about who applied for applications for the cannabis, and I was given a rejection. And after reading the taxation of the Marijuana Act, I found that, in fact, it's not FOIable. I don't know why the state is hiding behind not FOIAing who applied for cannabis license. It's pretty crummy, if you ask me. The committee that they had 10 people on it. 4 were city employees who were non-residents, and only 2 were residents out of the 10 people. So I don't think the committee was charged with coming up with an ordinance. 9 applications have been received, but as I asked the city clerk, by the way, the city clerk was not the person who did not send me the application, so it did not get that far. So I just want to make sure that she's not impugned as a person. Also, I'm really disturbed that 9 people already are going to get licenses if they are approved. I don't know why the city did not limit the number of applicants or locations. I was told that the city attorney told the council that they could be sued if they limited it. Well, Milan just passed last week to have 2 dispensaries, limited it to 2. And I'm going to read just shortly. Please don't cut me off if I go over. Number 6 on the application, or the Michigan marijuana application, except as provided in Section 4, a municipality may completely prohibit or limit the number of marijuana establishments within its boundaries. Very clear. And I checked 4. There's nothing that prohibit the city from doing that. I don't think anybody who voted for that is happy that there's going to be probably at least 9 cannabis facilities in Riverview, most of them probably on 4th Street. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Register me as extremely disappointed.
Anybody else?
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Ed Moss. I live at 18207 Valade. I had a few things I wanted to go over, a couple of which have to do with last time. First of all, I apologize for knocking whatever this black device is over, and I only caught that when I looked at the tape, which was totally embarrassing as I thought I hit the microphone. But much like Councilmember Robbins, I'm going to have to learn how to be a little less articulate with my hands, I would say. The other thing, I apologize to a couple of people that aren't here that were here last time, is normally I set my phone, my timer, and apparently because last meeting was so emotionally charged, I walked off. I thought I hit the button and I didn't. So I apologize to the 2 or 3 people that spoke after me about that. Next thing I have is I want to commend the Riverview Police Department for responding, helping the Southgate Police Department when it came to the accident, the very gruesome accident that was on Pennsylvania Road about 10 days ago. I think it's very good of your department to do that, Chief Allen. You might say it's within the line of duty and the like, but I still think that's a good thing. And if the Riverview Police Department did more things like that, I would have an even higher opinion of it than I do. The other thing I wanted to cover is something that happened about 3 or 4 days ago, where there were 4 vehicles at Rivergate Terrace that were broken into, or actually 3 were broken into. 1 had its hubcaps stolen. In terms of the valuables, there are a lot of valuables. I would caution people in this city and throughout not to leave hundreds of dollars inside of your vehicle, or a purse like Michael Kors' purse or something like that, which is quite valuable as well. In terms of the person that had their hubcaps stolen, I don't know that there's a lot that can be done about that, but if there's something that can be done, I think that needs to be looked into both by the city as well as the individual. And I know from what I read, 2 of the people were employees, and that kind of, well, didn't kind of suck, it very much sucked. Last thing is, in response to your comment about my comment last week about Riverview Crossings, Mr. Mayor, a couple of things that jumped out of my mind is the reason I didn't know that all 75 people were from Riverview is because around that same time there was an apartment, either a building or a complex in Southgate that also had their pipes froze. And considering that the Hampton is in Southgate, it's very logical that they would have taken in however many people from that complex in addition to however many from Riverview. So I'm sure you have more inside information than I do on that, Mr. Mayor. However, I didn't want to assume that it was all 75 people, and I think I actually had a Facebook posting where I had made that assumption, but that was incorrect to me, and it was very untimely, to say the least. The other thing was, I think you missed the purpose of why I was saying what I was saying, Mr. Mayor. The reason I brought this up is because, to me, it's a humanitarian crisis. You had referred to it as a civil matter, as I recall. But to me, and I'm sure there will be a lot of civil lawsuits from it, but people who have to walk through and live in inches of stagnant water, as I had stated last meeting, I lived in Detroit for 6 years. And while I had certain things I had to deal with, I didn't have to deal with anything anywhere close to that. And then given the temperatures at that time, and thankfully the temperatures are better now, so that will help, the heat problem on top of that, it's just really, really unseemly, to say the least. And like I said, I really do feel like this city let them down, and the leadership was lacking on that. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else? Not everybody can be last.
I was trying to be a gentleman.
You are a gentleman.
Don't tell anybody that. They won't believe you. My name's David Prey, 13740 Huntington, Review. The reason I actually came up here, first and foremost, obviously we haven't had snow this year, so just a heads up, should or if when we do have snow, me and the boys will be out. We will be removing snow for all seniors who can't afford or are unable to do it for themselves. That's completely free of charge. Anybody who needs help, they can reach me at my phone or the Facebook page for Riverview. We'll take care of you. Not a problem.
Thank you.
The main reason I came here tonight, I try to distance myself from coming to every one of these because in the past year, these meetings are getting progressively worse. The vitriol and the venom that gets spewed at you members is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you're on the right. The things that are said at these meetings, from the police chief is afraid of a city council member, the police are afraid of a sergeant, a lieutenant's afraid of a sergeant. There's conspiracy theories between backstage, agreements between Slip Mahoney's and a dispensary. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm like the majority of residents. We don't come to these meetings, but we hear all about them. I watch these videos, and half of me wants to laugh and half of me wants to cry. I spent 13 or 14 years coaching the youth of this city. Didn't ask for a dime. I did it because this is my city. Every single year, we go out, we remove snow for senior citizens who can't afford it or who can't do it themselves. I don't do that for money. I do it because this is my city. I grew up in Allen Park. I live in Riverview. This is my city. Now, I love the neighbors I have. I really do. But at a certain point, this city council, and Your Honor, at some point, you guys have to stand up and say, this stuff is ridiculous. The comments that are made at these city council meetings, disrespectful comments to, the 4 city council members, or Your Honor, or Rita, or Mr. Workman, they're absolutely ridiculous. I don't care what happened. Okay, with you, you're going to go through the process. That is your business. Does it affect the city of Riverview? It will when there's eventually a verdict. I don't care about your voicemail. It doesn't affect my life. But at a certain point, one thing that the residents need to understand is that we all live in the same city. Eventually, we have to start caring about one another. These people that come to these meetings are absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to disparage anybody. But I'm listening to these meetings and I'm hearing this vitriol that's spread every single time. It's absolutely embarrassing for the city. It truly is. Now, the main reason I came here tonight, this petition that's going around. I am not pro-marijuana. I am not against marijuana. I don't care. I don't smoke it. I don't want my son smoking it. I don't care who smokes it. You do what you want in the privacy of your home. It's none of my business. Here's what I have a problem with. A few days ago, I got a knock on the door from a petitioner who asked me to sign it. And his words were, we're trying to get dispensaries on the ballot for the city of Riverview. We want to have the voters to have a choice. Now look, anybody who knows me knows I'm all about the voters having a choice. I truly believe that. The voters should get to decide pretty much everything. You are our elected officials. That's your job. For the things that we don't vote for, that's what we entrust you to do. Here's where I have a problem. If you looked at this petition, it had absolutely nothing to do with dispensaries. What the petitioners were going around telling the city of Riverview residents was a complete and utter lie. Now, the gentleman who came to my door was named Travis. When I pointed out what the statement of that petition was, he contacted his boss, Dustin. And I got their names, I wrote them down, and I took a picture of the petition. I explained to Dustin exactly what the issue was. He tells me that, well, we're a firm in Flint. That's where we were contracted from. This is what we were told to say. What they are telling the residents to gather those signatures is a complete fabrication of what that petition is for. Now, something my father and my grandfather have always told me, if a man will lie to you about one thing, be sure he will lie to you about everything. I don't care if you sign the petition. I don't care if you're against the petition. I don't care if you're for the petition. My issue is this. If you put a petition out in front of the residents, now it's shame on them if they're not going to read that petition, but it's on them to read it. But the least you can do is have the honesty to tell the people what the petition is actually about. Thank you all. I hope you guys all had a good holiday.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Linda Podolsky, 18221 Fox Glen. You are right, Mayor. Guest and visitor comments are to be directed to the council, not to attack residents by non-residents. At the last city council meeting, all of you allowed a non-resident, Mr. Mellon, the owner of the former Slip Mahoney's, to defame, threaten, insult, and accuse your residents. He said we would not be happy with anything, any decisions made. That accusation was made to residents who've lived here longer than some of you have been alive. That does not sound like disgruntled citizens. I've never even been to a city council meeting till this year. He told the News Herald police reports were allegedly made because people who were harassing the people at Tent City trying to get the marijuana license. However, Lieutenant Bemis stated he was not aware of any confrontations. So who is lying? Mr. Mellon, the newspaper, or the police? He said we were racists. The only racist comments I have heard in these chambers were on the night of November 2nd, 2021, from Councilman Robbins, from incidents at Zorbas Coney Island on 4th Street, that led to his current pending felony charges that's on police body cam. Quote, black people do not belong in the city of Riverview. I worked for Henry Ford Hospital almost 20 years, where diversity and inclusion are their fiber. I have to take mandatory work and state classes on bias, diversity, and inclusion. I've been called many things in my life, and if I had a nickel for every name I've been called, I'd be a billionaire. But don't ever call me a racist. Ever. That's another lie. And no one here on the council said a word. He said we ask too many questions, and he doesn't like it. Well, I have every right to ask questions. We ask because we're not getting answers, like how did you get to be number one in line? And why did you buy a building to sell marijuana before the ordinance was passed? When you say don't ask, I'll ask twice. The issue isn't selling marijuana, it's letting the voters decide. Some residents and some council people are using the old argument. Well, in 2018, 500 people voted for it. Yes, that's true. It was voted as a statewide mandate to make marijuana legal, not to sell marijuana in the city. Look what Taylor did. Put it to the voters. They wanted it. A one-year moratorium to figure out how things are going to go. Now you have 500 votes. You say back in 18, I heard Mr. Trombley has 800 signatures. So now we have a dispute. This all could have been avoided if it would have been on the ballot. And please don't gaslight the public to thinking that there's only going to be 1 or 3. I saw the map. There's 14 proposed marijuana dispensaries on 4th Street, and we haven't even talked about Quarry, King, Pennsylvania, and Sibley. What's the rush? I thought Mr. Workman said we had 10 years before the landfill would possibly close. So is that the 10-year plan, marijuana dispensaries only? I'm also ashamed of this council that you let a non-resident attack 2 veterans who spoke 2 weeks ago. One served and one's currently serving. Have any of you served? Been through boot camp, officers training school? I don't think so. So at the next annual Riverview Veterans Memorial Remembrance, when I go there to remember the living and the dead veterans, I'll remember your silence. Silence is cowardice. You didn't say a word, and you knew it wasn't true, and they sat here, and you didn't say a word. The tragedy wasn't in the mean rhetoric directed to them, but by the appalling silence of this council calling people racist when you knew it wasn't true.
Thank you. Anybody else?
James Hayes, 20639 Somerset Court. I just have 2 quick things. Jeff, I wanted to offer my sincerest condolences to you and your family. I'm very, very sorry to hear that news.
Thank you.
Second, I want to thank you guys for the stepped-up enforcement of the speed on Ford Street, the speeders. I've noticed a step-up in enforcement. It's definitely appreciated. I live very, very close to Ford Street, and we hear quite a few speeders coming up and down. In the summer, it gets worse, but I just wanted to say thank you for that. I don't have anything else to say tonight, but thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you.
My condolences as well. I just mentioned that, I'm sorry.
All right.
Jared Coyne, 18160 Brentwood Drive. Jeff, I share the same sentiment too. Very sorry. I just want to ask for the elephant in the room here, setting aside all the small town politics and the squabbles over what happened in 1987 and all that. $6 million was taken out of the water fund, and when the finance director was asked about that, he resigned the next day. I don't know what's going on, but I think there's a big problem with money in the city, and I'm hoping that we find out what exactly is going on, because all this crap about selling pot or anything, I can care less about it. It's a distraction. I mean, a city our size can't be losing millions of dollars. Maybe there's a legitimate reason for it. Maybe there's not. I don't know. But I'm hoping we get a response and see what's going on with that, because our property taxes are going to go up a lot if that is the case. And, to look into the future down the road, if the city becomes insolvent, what's going to happen to us? Is it going to be annexed? Is the state going to bail us out? What's going to happen? But I think these are real issues. These are real problems that nobody's talking about. And kind of like everything else in society as a whole, it's always bread and circuses, things to distract people, which is very easy to do. People are predictable. It's so easy to do that. So anyway, I'm hoping to find out if we can, where I believe it was $6 million. And if anyone knows if the finance guy said anything about it before he bailed out. Thank you.
Anybody else? Just want to make sure. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, all members of City Council, and citizens of Riverview. My name is Will Evans, President and Publisher of Go Big Multimedia Group at 18271 4th Street, right here in our city of Riverview. We have been publishing the Riverview Register with good news and information for the last 5 years. Before you tonight is a proposal for a 3-year extension to work together with the city and the Riverview schools with no price increase. That means since 2018 through 2026, the prices will remain the same. I would bet that we are the one and only company that has not asked for a price increase in such a long tenure of time. We've been proud to publish the multimedia newspaper that is direct mailed free of charge to every home and apartment and condo and businesses in City of Riverview. Plus, all the news rack distribution and the multimedia digital version of the Riverview Register where you could read it anywhere at any time. Ladies and gentlemen, financially, the bottom line is that we help the city save money and increase the revenue with legal notices, legal bids, water notices, employment notices, city announcements, DPW notices, fire department notices, police department notices, and also the library with their events have increased participation, which equals to a higher revenue stream. And also, the recreation department has increased participation substantially, which equates to a higher revenue stream. Those are just some examples, whereas we help the city save money and increase the revenue for operating costs to provide the great services and events to the citizens of Riverview without raising their taxes to compensate for some of the aforementioned benefits. The exact same reasoning and results happens to the City of Riverview schools, also by publishing their good news, events, notices, and information. Thank you very much for your consideration this evening, and I look forward to professionally working with all of you and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We'll move on. We have no organizational business tonight. Is there any item council wants removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none. 9.1, authorize additional funding of $13,000 for the previously awarded cooperative bid purchase for one 2023 GapVax sewer truck. 9.2, authorize the extension of the current contract for citywide advertising with Go Big Multimedia LLC for 3 additional years through 2/5/2026. 9.3, ratify emergency sewage pump repair for the Ford Line lift station with Kennedy Industries for a total of $10,790. What's council's pleasure?
So moved, Your Honor.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Blanchette, supported by Councilman Workman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
I will say congratulations to Go Big Multimedia. I just happen to have with me the very first edition of the paper that was published. It says, "Greetings, Riverview." So we got 5 more years of this. Thank you. 10.1, adopt resolution authorizing PNC letter of credit. What's council's pleasure?
So move, Your Honor.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Workman, supported by Councilwoman Ganaga. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Okay, what we're going to do on the next one, I'll ask for a motion, and I'll ask for support. Then we'll have a short presentation done by Ms. Karen Shea from Platte Moran. So 10.2, adopt resolution approving the deficit elimination plan for the Land Preserve Fund as required by the State of Michigan Department of Treasury. It's council's pleasure.
So move, Your Honor.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Workman, supported by Councilman Robbins. Discussion. Jeff.
Your Honor, tonight Carrie Shea's here from Plant Moran. Carrie is part of the assurance group. She is not part of the audit group. We have engaged Carrie and her group to aid and assist in the deficit elimination plan from the Land Preserve. And today, Carrie will come and speak to you why we're doing what we're doing, why it needs to come up in front of council for approval with the state, and kind of speak to the general overall reasoning of this project. This is phase 1. Phase 2 will be to look at the general fund. Once we're done with the debt plan with the Land Preserve, we've already started that project, and I'm sure Carrie will tell you tonight that these are based on our assumptions, our forecasts, and our projections. So, Carrie, it's yours.
Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. My name is Carrie Shea. I'm a principal in our Governmental Accounting Professionals group at Plant Moran. And we have been asked to come and assist you with a special scope project in response to your letter you received from the state of Michigan for the deficit in the Land Preserve Fund. So just for background, that is a normal process for the state, for any of our communities that I work with or communities in the state of Michigan. If there is a fund in a deficit that meets their parameters, you automatically receive a letter shortly after they receive your audit, and you have 30 days to respond to them with a plan that is passed by resolution by council. So as Mr. Dobak stated, our role in this has really been to be information gatherers. So we have helped in compiling the historical data that exists financially, and then also working with management to develop what assumptions are needed to look at your future plans. So you're allowed to submit a deficit elimination plan for up to 5 years to the state to resolve your deficit. So we've taken this data, we put it into a multi-year model for you, and as Mr. Dobak stated, we're here tonight just speaking to the Land Preserve Fund because there's a time limit on that. You have until a little before the end of the month to get back to the state to be on time with that. The second piece of the puzzle will be the general fund, and we're still in process on that piece. A couple brief comments on the plan that's before you. Mr. Dobak has provided us with a lot of information in there, and it is aggressive. But it needs to be. There are pieces of that mainly increase revenue, and then there are a few reductions to expenses. So let me handle the revenue increase piece first. In these assumptions that are going into, the state's asking you for a plan. They're asking you for your best understanding right now today as to what those years look like. As we all know, it may not go exactly as you plan today. If some of these fall short or go a different direction, you may end up in a slightly better position, or if they don't, you may end up in a worse position and it may not go as planned. But they're just asking you for a reasonable plan. So incorporated in the revenue increases is the increase related to future contracts that are expected to be signed for Canadian trash coming in. The royalty is related to possibly drilling for the gas, for the methane gas capture from the preserve. And then there's also included is a sale for your cell tower potentially in fiscal '24. Again, if those don't all come true, the timing of when you come out of your deficit may be altered. There are a couple other things that I wanted to mention in the expense side. So there are transfers that happen annually from the Land Preserve Fund into the general fund that is really sustaining the general fund, which is why that'll be part 2 to figure that out. There is a reduction in this plan of the dollar amount of that transfer over these future 5 years. And that is needed to get the general fund to be operating on its own and be able to do that going forward. We are looking, you'll see in there, those are going down. It's kind of like a weaning process over time to get the general fund less dependent. I did want to point out that if you look at the details of the plan before you, in '23, the deficit actually worsens before it improves. We're already over halfway through that fiscal year. As you are aware, there are significant capital expenditures underway to open Cell 7. That needs to be completed to ultimately then bring in the revenue. So that is why you see that in '23, and then you will see improvement. And the plan then, as it shows in the model, has you out of your deficit in fiscal year 2025. Those were the comments I wanted to make on the plan. As I mentioned, what the state would then need is a resolution by this council, the minutes from this meeting, and then management would submit that to the state to file your elimination plan with them.
Your Honor, one thing that I want to add is this is our first submittal. The state could come back to us and ask for some more information or potentially changes to some of those line items. If that would to happen, it would come back to you again for approval because we would have to adjust it and then send it back. It's happened in the past with the golf course that was in the deficit elimination plan prior, that it had to have a couple changes, so it had to be changed and recertified by council and sent back. So I want to make sure that, we have to meet the 30-day deadline and submit it, and then they'll review it, and if they like what they see, then they'll ratify it. If they don't and have questions, then we'll have to answer those.
I'll open up to questions for council in just a second here, but I do have a couple. One thing I heard is you used the term, this is actually the beginning of weaning ourselves from the landfill. So even though there's 10, 12 years left, this is the start of what Riverview is going to look like without a landfill as for income. So that's a good thing.
Correct, Your Honor. And just so you know, it isn't cold turkey. We've provided money in there for 2024, 2025, 2026.
Through 26 and 27.
Yes, but the amounts have been lessened. So it's not cold turkey, it's just lessened. So, and as Michelle said, we will be addressing the differences in the general fund workup.
So, and just a couple other ones, because the big question here is how did we get here? So what influence, can you address the influences, I don't know if this is big, Karen, probably you, the influences of Canadian trash and market performance? What roles did those play?
Well, without going through all the detail, I'd like to address that in summary. COVID hit, and there was an amazing amount of decrease in trash because a lot of our haulers represented things like Metro Airport, Southland Mall, Ford Field, Little Caesars Arena, things that, these things closed so that we didn't have that trash amount. The second thing that happened is we made a cognizant effort not to take Canadian trash. Adding those two together, that was in excess of $2.5 million a year. The city still drew the $3 million, $2.6 million. We'd have to go to the records to see exactly how much. But at that time, the net revenue from the landfill was only 1.7, 1.8. And we were drawn at a $3 million clip or so. And that happened over a few years. And lo and behold, the landfill is now in a deficit.
So any questions from council for Ms. Shea?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Blanchett.
thank you. Quick question for you. The first, under revenue, the first paragraph there where we've just spoken about 2023 through 2027, you've got a $6.3 million generation. Would you break that paragraph down for me? I don't understand it.
Sure. So the assumption that we were provided based on Mr. Dobek's estimate, so that's looking at what the anticipated revenue from fiscal years 23, so the year you're in, through fiscal year 27, which is the last year of the plan, is estimated to be in $6.3 million over that 5-year time period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Then I'll ask for a roll call. Oh, thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you, Jeff. 10.3, approve amendment to resolution for the City of Riverview Commission, Board, and Committee 2023 calendar year meeting schedule pursuant to Act 267, Open Meetings Act, Public Act 1976. It's council's pleasure.
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by
Support.
Councilman Robbins. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes. 10.4, adopt amended performance resolution and performance for indemnification commitment for government bodies for the state of Michigan, annual permit for the work on state highways. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman O'Neill, supported by Councilman Robbins. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
We have no administration, no ordinances, but we do have under other business, 13.1, confirm appointment to the position of landfill director. A little bit of a background here. The city manager has appointed Mr. Kevin Sisk to the position of landfill director. Pursuant to the city charter, the appointment of administrative official requires confirmation by council. What's council's pleasure?
So move, Your Honor.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Workman, supported by Councilwoman Blanchett. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Congratulations, Kevin.
Your Honor, I'd like
Yeah.
Kevin to stand up and be recognized as part of our team, our new member of our team.
We're expecting more of the awesome things you do for us, Kevin. Okay, any other business council wants to bring up at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman O'Neill.
I actually have two things.
Sure.
First thing, I know Mr. Prey addressed about the meetings. I think I have to agree with him that they actually have become more embarrassing than the supposed dispensaries that are supposed to be so embarrassing to the city. There's a lot going on, and we spend a lot of time just making the personal taxes getting a little ridiculous. And then there's a discussion about me being good friends with Mr. Molino, who purchased Lip Mahoney's. I purchased my home from him more than 15 years ago, and I've talked to him not in 15 years, so I guess if you count that as good friends, then sure, we're good friends. And then the other thing, I know something that actually is important. Councilman Norton's been asking for over a month, when did council waive off the city charter, 8.5D, that states that we're to get quarterly period during the fiscal year and more often if required by council for our fiscal reports quarterly, and the minutes also he asked about. It's in the city charter. I guess they're also, they're supposed to be council meeting minutes where the governing body voted, and those have not yet been found either. So have we made any progress on that? It's been about a month or so.
I don't know if there's been any progress made, but personally, I don't remember waiving the charter, but I do know each year after the annual audit by Plant Moran, they usually finish it with a comment on the quarterly reports. And ever since I've been on council said it was a council decision. There didn't seem to be any interest in those. So even for the last, I mean, that's every year they mentioned that, and it hasn't become an issue until now with the issues that we have. So now it is an issue, but looking back, it was a council decision, not individuals, council decision to not take advantage of those reports. Jeff?
Your Honor, I have been emailed by council, and they've asked for that, and I've looked, and I have not been able to locate that. And I think I did respond so. However, going forward, after the debt plan will be the general ledger plan that will be explained. Once I get to that, Plant Moran will be coming in February to go over the audit report. But I think what would be really, really good when we talk about these financial reports, because I don't know what they are, but I really would like to start preparing quarterly budget to actuals, and I think that would be very helpful. I think that's a great start, because when you look at these financial reports, because I don't know how they're defined, I'm not so sure they'll be useful because they take a lot of time with accruals and different accounting things. But I think if we got to measuring budgets to actuals, I think that would be a very good start. And that's what I'm going to propose quarterly once I get a finance director and once we get through this project. But my time has really been taken up with this debt plan and this general ledger plan that we're working on. So it's not falling on deaf ears. I think I did answer everyone when I answered Councilman Norton. I think I sent it to all. So it's not being dodged or it's not being not addressed, but I have to finish these two projects first, and then we'll get through the audit report with Plant Moran from 2022, and then we'll get into these. We'll set up a financial report that seems very useful for us so that we can go through it quarterly. That's my goal.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilwoman Ganaga.
I would just like to speak to people who are saying that there was backdoor dealings and things like that with the Cannabis Committee. I can tell you that every single coworker that I have up here, I would trust with my life. So none of that is true. I don't know where these rumors are coming from, and for everyone to just sit there in silence, it is hard. And last meeting was really embarrassing to watch, sitting at home, not feeling well, and seeing my own email that I sent being read, that I sent to my coworkers, being read by someone in the public. So that was quite shocking. There's a lot we need to work on as a team. I know I personally am really hoping that we can get back to a good place, because right now there's a lot of big decisions coming up. We have debt plans that we need to work on. We have work that needs to get done for the city. We need to get our vision committee going. We need to get our 100th celebration going. There is much more that we should be talking about than things that are done, over with. I want to move forward. I want to get the city finances set, and I want to get moving forward. And to the people saying that there are friends and this and that, the people who own the cannabis companies have so much cash that if a city is even considering putting in a location, they will send hired people to wait in line, search their Facebook accounts, search their websites, purchase property in hopes that they will approve it months in advance before anything's voted on. They will go and buy property. I know that sounds ridiculous to normal people. I can't afford to go buy property just in hopes that maybe they'll let me build a home wherever I want. These companies have the money to do these things. So just to shed some light on where some of that is coming from. So if they heard that we were talking about it, forming a committee, they're going to go look for the best property they can. And of course, Fort Street is some of our best retail property space. So of course, you would know that's where they'd want to go look. So I just wanted to speak to that. And if there's anything else, please feel free to let us know.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then I will,
Your Honor,
Councilman Robbins.
just a couple things real quick. Rita, I think that was well said, or Councilwoman Ganaga, sorry. We have, still a little curious as to, we touched on it last week, how a resident had our email. Kim does a fantastic job in our IT department. The likelihood of us being hacked is completely asinine. That didn't happen. I am still a little curious as to how our private correspondence got out to a resident, and it's very unnerving. It really is. As far as, well, I don't see Ms. Podolsky anymore, but I'm sure whoever emails her will be happy to let her know what I have to say. If anyone wants to quote me on something and you say quote, it has to be an actual quote. Okay, we can't just make things up willy-nilly. It's not how that works. You know, I hear a lot of people, this is, I was one of them. Oh, hey, you know, we should this, that, and the other from out there. It's a big deal up here. There's a lot of things to deal with, and I commend anyone. I'm already at 38 years. Wow, that's huge. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world up here. But what I will say is people are asking questions. You know, they're upset with the decisions that are being made. But are we asking the correct questions? I don't hear anyone asking about the financial status. I've said it multiple times. We can't sit here and divulge certain things, but you can ask. I didn't see the outrage on the Headley, and again, I get why that had to pass. I didn't support it, but am I glad it did go through? Am I glad that 4 of my colleagues had the gumption to do that? Yes, because it was a financial necessity. They were bigger than I was at that time, okay? I don't see any solutions being brought forward. All I see is criticism, and I am always available, whether it's Facebook, whether it's my phone number, whether it's my city email. You might not want to use that, but, you know. If you got ideas, like, we are just trying to do what we can to keep all of our taxes low and to keep our community great and safe. So, I don't know, with all that being said, I hope everyone has a blessed evening.
Anybody else? I will just add to that about the solutions. I think we get volumes of it from our city manager. There's suggestions all the time, so I totally disagree. You don't see any solutions. But we're getting tons of them, and Jeff's going to get, with our help, Jeff will get those in place. So I will give a, Councilman Robbins.
I was referring to not us as a team. I was referring to the public, we have a lot to say, but if anyone has any solutions, call me. I wasn't referring to our team and the work that we are doing behind closed doors.
So you're saying you don't see any solutions from the public? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that if anyone has any ideas, I'm more than willing to listen, because we're moving on the things that we feel are right for the city.
Okay.
I'm not hearing anything else, though.
All right, thank you.
Only criticism.
Thank you for clearing it up. I'm sorry, I have to ask the clerk. Mr. Toll had a couple comments, and I can't find my notes. I have to break. Bill, you want to come back up and remind me what your comments were? I want to make sure they get addressed. I can't see where I wrote them down.
were 9 applications as to how many people followed through with those
Okay.
applications, and if you could give us a location that those applications are for.
Okay.
I mean, there was 14 areas available, and from what I understand, again, there was 9 applications. Were they completed with the necessary deposit, et cetera?
Okay, thank you. I did have that written down, you just put your name by it. So I don't know, and I don't know if the clerk has that information. Obviously, we did receive 9 applications, and can you give us a real quick what step you're in? Or were all 9 of them complete? Or is that a Randy question?
We're waiting to meet with the city attorney on these when Dave is available, same time I am, and the city attorney to discuss the applications that we have questions about. There are some that are incomplete, that's all I can tell you.
Okay, that's all I really need to know. But the other question was, and I know we had questions at the time, Randy, can you elaborate a little more on why we chose, too bad Mike's not here, why we chose to go the way we did, to limit the number of dispensaries or by location as opposed by number?
Well, yeah, exactly, Mayor. You already put your finger on it. It is limited. It's not open season, and we're not allowing them all over the town. There are, if you read the ordinances, the council and the mayor certainly have, numerous times, you would understand that there is limitations. What we did not do, what the committee did not do, is get into a ranking process where, like many communities have a committee that takes the applications and scores them and subjectively determines a numerical value, which then in turn results in a score, a ranking, and if there's X number of licenses and you fall outside of that because of your ranking, you will be disappointed and argue that it was unfair. And those sorts of schemes, those municipal schemes often, not always, but often lead to litigation. So the committee opted to use a no-cap zoning approach where there's limitations, but it's not through the result of a scoring process.
All right, and then it was also brought up the total number, and I guess this would be subjective on what would the maximum number be depending on where a building is available. I've heard anywhere from 9 to 13, but I think that's total for the city. And we got 9 applications. That, to me, that doesn't mean we're going to have 9 dispensaries, because some may or may not qualify. But I mean, it could be some number in there. But it's just the way it turns out, the concentration where there is a flow of traffic is on southbound Ford Street. So that's where they'll likely be. And I know there's available spots on King Road, and I'm sure there's lots of available spots on Jefferson down by the Arkema property down that way. Be honest, somebody mentioned Quarry Road. I don't think there'd be any on Quarry Road at all. Number one, there's a school there, and there's just too much residents. So I don't think there'll be any there. They will be concentrated to a business district. To answer Mayor Duran's, he asked, since he asked twice, I better answer him. The Cannabis Committee, what the mission was, and I don't have the mission in front of me, but it was something to the effect of the committee was in charge of doing the homework on see if Riverview is interested in having dispensaries, what would it take to get them here, and then make a recommendation to council. So I think that's what the mission was. I can't comment on why he wasn't appointed. I just don't have that information with me. And I think that's it on the dispensaries. Now, I did say I would give an update on recycling, and Jeff, you're going to have to correct me if I'm misspeak on some of this. Council hasn't made a final decision. It's not a secret that we moved forward with the potential of doing the curbside recycling because we were under the impression that would satisfy Wayne County. and get our approval for the landfill expansion. Clearly, that did not happen, so council decided we're not going to move forward in the same form of curbside recycling as in the past. That would mean full curbside recycling for the entire city. What is on the table is to provide curbside recycling by subscription. There is a nominal cost of that. It can run anywhere from $5 to $10. I think it's $5 in Trenton and about $7.50, $10, something like that in Wyandotte. So that's something that we are considering. We are also considering making the recycling center more accessible at the landfill, because it is a little inconvenient to go in there with the truck traffic. So, but all that stuff's it's gonna cost money to do, and obviously with the deficit elimination plan we got going, I don't think we're gonna take on anything major with that. But I think also, so that means we will be giving up the grant for the large totes, the 96-gallon totes. I think still on the table is the grant for the carryable totes, I'll call them, for a recycling center. Is that right, Dave? Okay. So that's still on the table, and that's what we'll do. Provide the carryable totes for the residents who still want to bring their recycling to the landfill, the recycling center at the landfill, and then the large totes for the curbside will be provided by the hauler who actually is chosen to do that. So that's the latest where it stands. I don't see Kugelman here, but I don't know if he would know. Maybe you do, Jeff. What kind of return do we get on recyclables? How much money do we get back from the hauler for recycling? Is it $1 or something?
Your Honor, I don't have that number, and I'm kind of looking at Erica, who's the cost controller, and I'm sure she doesn't have that number right now with her either, so we'll have to get back to you with that.
Okay, and I should have warned you I was going to ask this, but I think the point is it's going to be negligible. It's not even going to come close to what it costs to having us haul them away. Now, and you may know this, and it needs to be asked, where does our recyclables go? When a truck comes to our landfill to picks up the recyclables, where does it go? Does it go right up the hill?
No, Your Honor, the recyclables, I believe, are picked up by a hauler and taken to a recycling center. I believe it's Great Lakes Recycling, or it was. Erica may be able to tell me who the new processor is, but it has been taken to Great Lakes Recycling in the past. That I do know.
Do we ever get trucks from recycling, or who you just mentioned, back to our landfill with recyclables and materials in it?
Your Honor, we very much so. We have seen over the past years that trucks have dumped recyclables at our hill that have been maybe picking up for other cities or other places. I can't tell you, and I can't quantify how many, but it has happened before. At the end of the day, instead of going to Great Lakes, they are contracted with us with a different city or municipality, and that may find its way to the top of the hill.
But, and I think you've answered the question, ours does not, when somebody comes to recycling at our landfill, we don't pull the stuff right up to the top of the hill.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Anybody else, any other business council wants to talk about at this time? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Blanchett. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Motion to adjourn.
Is there support?
Support.
A motion by Councilwoman Blanchett, supported by Councilwoman Ganaga. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Let the record show the meeting adjourned at 8:09.